Protect Queens.
No casino.
Protect Queens.
No casino.
Protect Queens.
No casino.
Protect Queens.
No casino.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody. So we're here today to protest Assemblymember Aubry for his actions to help Steve Cohen build a casino on what is currently public land. Even if his office is closed, we know Assemblymember Aubry will hear us. The parking lot next to Citi Field is actually publicly owned parkland leased to the Mets. Why is it that an elected official is helping a billionaire get his hands on his public asset to only benefit himself? Cohen makes false promises about bringing jobs to our community, but his true colors show through Aubry. Their one and only plan is to build a casino that will harm all of us. Aubry should be fighting to protect our communities, fighting to protect our jobs and small businesses, fighting to bring real jobs and developments that benefit all of us, fighting to protect our park lands so it can be used and enjoyed by everybody. It is the job of Aubry and all of our elected officials to represent the people, not the 1%.
That's right.
All right, protect Queens!
No casino.
Protect Queens!
No casino.
Protect Queens!
No casino.
It is a real shame that our elected officials have failed our communities for many, many years, including the destruction of jobs right across the street from the site in which they want to now build a casino. All of our electeds supported and stood by, well, maybe not all, but many, many of them, while the city displaced all of these businesses. And now to turn around and say that we need to have a casino shoved down our throats just so a few people can have jobs is a shame. It's a real shame. We need our elected officials to stand up to billionaires like Steve Cohen, who do not care what happens to our communities, who do not care if gambling is an issue, who do not care if it destroys families and its only purpose is to take away working people's hard-earned money. So shame on Aubry, shame on Cohen. I call on everyone, both in Flushing and Corona, and all of the surrounding communities in Queens, to stand together, say no to this racism that is destroying our communities, that is shoving a casino down our throats in the fake name of jobs, and to join us together and say we won't allow a casino to be built on what is public land, that the public land should be in the interests and needs of the people. Thank you.
All right.
Public land
Is for the public!
Public land
Is for the public!
Public land
Is for the public!
That's right. That's why we're here today. Assemblymember Aubry's bill enables an over 60-acre land grab in our communities. If this was happening in Manhattan, no one would let it through. 60 acres of public parkland given away for private profit? Never, ever would that happen. That is happening here. And that is why this is an environmental injustice. And I want to make this point really clear. We are in the middle of multiple low-income, middle-income communities of color. And that's why they feel like they can take over 60 acres of public parkland. We are in the middle of communities who are in the 95th percentile in the nation for air toxicity, proximity to traffic. This is not the place for a casino. This is not the place to take public parkland. We are in the middle of communities, and I'm sorry to even bring this up because it's tragic, many of whom died in their homes during Hurricane Ida because of an overwhelmed sewer system that has been deeply disinvested in for years. And we are proposing to take public parkland? This is where we should actually invest in our communities, invest in public parkland, make a space that is absorbent, that reduces air toxicity, and actually connects our communities to one another. And so we're here today to call on elected officials all over Queens, all over New York City to come together and oppose the proposed legislation. And we're here to call upon all New York City communities and Queens communities to come together and oppose this project. Thank you so much.
All right.
My name is Zeke, and I'm with Flushing Anti-Displacement Alliance. It is unconscionable for Assemblymember Aubry, a supposed representative of the people of this community, to advocate for the construction of a casino in this very neighborhood over other community needs. In his own words, Aubry wants to first and foremost construct a gaming facility, a casino, on what is currently public parkland to Aubry, providing community facilities to actually serve his district is an afterthought. At a time when people in these communities of color are already suffering from high rents and rising property taxes, at a time when our wages from long hours at work cannot sustain the basic costs of living, at a time when many of us are being displaced from our communities, you, Assemblymember Aubry, would advocate for an institution that would siphon the savings of your working class constituents. You, Assemblymember Aubry, for a measly $9,400 donation, would rather help Steve Cohen to develop a casino to rob these communities rather than use the land to serve them. You would rather financially ruin your constituents than help them. For months, Cohen has tried to mislead this community by talking about his plans for a casino, talking vaguely about 50 acres of opportunity. Meanwhile, he has donated $150,000 to local electeds, including Aubry. Clearly, Aubry has seized the opportunity to sell this community out.
Shame! 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 Shame!
Billionaire developers like Cohen think they can buy our consent to invade our communities and bleed us dry for the meager crumbs we have left. But they can't do that without the help of community leaders like Aubry, who don't see it as their job to protect our communities, but rather to sell them off to the highest bidder. And that is why we are out here today, to say we will no longer let community leaders like Aubry dictate to us our future. So we're going to dictate to you. Assemblymember Aubry, you will come out and face your community. You will break your corrupt backroom deals with Steve Cohen. You will rescind this legislation. You will protect our public lands. You will grow a spine, and you will protect our communities. We call on all elected officials across Queens to oppose privatizing Parkland and oppose the casino. We ask you, what's your position on Aubry's corrupt and racist bill? Thank you.
Protect Queens!
No casino!
Protect Queens!
No casino!
Protect Queens!
No casino!
Woo! Thank you. All right, up next we have Maggie from the Guardians of Flushing Bay. Woo!
Thanks. I'm Maggie Flanagan with the Guardians of Flushing Bay and also a Jackson Heights resident, and I am so happy to be standing here with my neighbors from Flushing, Corona, East Elmhurst, and all around Queens because we are united against this casino proposal. We must stay united to face the powerful threats to our communities. This casino will not help us with the threat of rising waters. We know from the coasts and sea level rise, from the severe storms we've seen all around Queens, that flooding is going to be a major, major concern to our community's well-being in the future. And guess what helps with flooding? It's parks and natural areas. So yes, this part of the park is a parking lot, but parking lots are normal. Public parking in large public parks is a normal part of large parks, especially in the outer boroughs of the city. What can be done is to make this parking lot more resilient and better for our flooding needs. It can be filled with bioswales in between the parking spots, and planted with trees. It can have rain gardens. These can be places for community stewardship and nature instead of a casino. The kind of green we need in this space is green infrastructure, and not the kind of green seeing our green dollars waste away to company profits.
Good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Russell Cheek. I represent the Black Institute as well as Banana Kelly, and I was also a former resident of this neighborhood. And the sad part, and I'm going to make this very brief, as you see the diversity of this coalition, The sad part is that we have public property for private profit. And that's what we're talking about right here. And it's sad when we have our elected officials, and it was funny that he was here, and I don't mention names because I don't give him that much credibility or credence, but he was here and he could not even answer the questions that was posed to him by the coalition at large. And that speaks volumes in this upside down kingdom, because that land could be better used for its natural resources and what it brings forth. And also in light of the fact that we have a housing pandemic, which he couldn't even answer to that as well. So with all the things that we could do with that land, as well as keep it as it is for its natural resources, to build a casino. One of the individuals who was speaking to the assembly member when he was present talked about the addiction that comes along with the casino and how you will rummage and rampage and pillage and plunder this community by bringing a casino into it, and he had no response. That is an issue itself. You know, so we do call upon, and this is a collective effort, right? This is a community effort, a community endeavor to call upon our people, our community members, our elected officials to stand with us in solidarity as we say, no casino!
No casino!
No casino!
No casino!
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. My name is Ed Wesley. I'm a past president of the Jackson Heights Beautification Group, and we stand united with you folks and the Queens Civic Congress, the Guardians, and the Asians in Flushing. I had hoped that we'd have a bigger crowd, but we've got a vocal crowd. Our tact on this is something strange is happening here, because Jeffrion Aubry, when he says he wants to create a conversation and says and introduces legislation that essentially stifles conversation, that's a problem. There's another problem, however, and that is former Councilwoman Julissa Ferraris is on the billionaires team. She's guarding one of the public relations, and she was instrumental when the USTA wanted to take 0.8 acres of Flushing Meadow Corona Pod to broker a deal. In addition, many of my friends in the Jackson Heights area are also on the billionaires team. Now, these same people fought for Travers Park. They fought for a greener Jackson Heights. So what has changed? Something is happening here, and we got to be aware of it. Now, I'd like to read the statement from the Jackson Heights Beautification Group and give you our resolution. This is the statement and the resolution. I don't have two hands, unfortunately. So let me read from this. This will be going out in an email blast next week, and it's going to every legislator in the Assembly and the Senate who represents Queens. We can't stop with just our local elected officials. It's a good starting point, but this is going to go down if we don't get to the other elected officials. Now, he has referred this to the city's committee, which is headed by an upstater as far as I know. So the other thing we need to do also is Jessica Ramos told us that she's going to introduce legislation in support of Jeffrion's legislation. Now, she did promise us that she was looking for words so that the public could get involved in the conversation. I'll believe that when I see it, but your emphasis needs to move from here to Jessica Ramos, because she hasn't introduced that sister bill yet, but she will. A bill that would allow Mets owner Steve Cohen to build a casino in the parking lot at Citi Field is before the New York State Assembly. Though the parking lot has been there for over 70 years, it's still Parkland. Our argument is you cannot de-alienate Parkland. We are fourth out of the 5 boroughs with the least amount of parkland. This is horrendous. This can't happen. We wish Steve Cohen and the Mets well in the baseball arena. But considering the above, the Jackson Heights Beautification Group Board of Directors approved the following statement unanimously. The JHBG strongly opposes delinization of Parkland, particularly in Flushing Meadows Corona Park, which has too long been the destination for the needless series of sports and commercial ventures that have no place in public land. These developments would never be acceptable in Central Park, Prospect Park, or in Van Cortlandt Park. But it is deemed acceptable in Queens Premier Park. It's time to say no to this loss of public land. We agree with the Queens Civic Congress, we agree with the Guardians, and any other group that opposes giving up parkland. We end it by saying it is important that we get out and speak to our local representatives and tell them we do not support this, and we end it with their phone numbers and their websites. Thank you very much.
Yes. Just to make it more clear to Aubry, don't gamble with our communities. 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 Don't gamble with our communities.
Protect Parkland.
No casino.
Protect Parkland.
No casino.
Protect Parkland.
No casino.
Can I just point out how dystopic that chant is? We have to say, protect Parkland, don't build a casino on it. What world are we living in? Okay, I'm gonna pass it back to Nisa.
No casino, that's right. So today we came together to say shame on Aubry, shame on Cohen. But more importantly, we come together to call on everyone who opposes building a casino in our community and who opposes the exploitation of public parkland for private use and benefit, to join together and say no to Cohen's casino and Aubry's corrupt bill. We ask everybody to call your reps and tell them to say no to Bill A5688. If they're with the group, we will stay back here with the Fed Up Coalition to talk. Thank you. Woo! No casino!